Men spell love Respect. Women spell love Love. Children, on the other hand, spell love Time. What is up, champions? Welcome to another episode of Champion Reads, where we take best-selling books and their best principles to help you out with your best life. I'm your host, Willie Blake. I'm here with my co-host as well, Mr. Ian Sturmer. And today we are coming to the last episode that we're doing on this book, Michalowitz, say that 5 times fast, book, as Ian's showing on the video, Profit First. We've gone through this book into several topics, from the profit formula to talking about doing small and the 1% to general principles, and even relating it to other things rather than just business. And today, as we jump into this episode, we want to touch on something that is a principle he talks about in the book, but really scopes it out into the rest of our life, which is time. What are we spending our time on? And just like in the book where he says, focus on profit first, and then you could deal with expenses. Are we taking the time are we putting the time into what's most important in our relationships with our friends, family, spouses, children, all the above? Let's jump into this topic about time. And Ian, I'm actually just going to turn it right over to you to start us out with it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start out with a guilty question for all of us. Is the time you spend with your loved ones the time that's left over after you've done all of your work? Or is that taken out first, just like our profits are supposed to be? Do we take out 1% or whatever percent first and do that, and then go on to everything else? The same way we should be with our money, as we've learned in here. And the concept is not new. To do the important things first. Stephen Covey talked about that. Do the most important thing first. The old Franklin Day Planner, for those of you old enough to remember that, you would write down your goals and prioritize them. So if you can only do one task today, you've chosen the most important one to do first. Do we do that with our time? Do we take out time first? And if we're going to budget out our day and plan our day the same as we would our bank account, do we take that first section and say, my family is most important, or my dog is most important, or my best friend is most important, whatever's most important? Not going to say there's right or wrong answers to what's important, but there are right and wrong answers to, are we putting them as the most important? And a great little example of that, one of these stories I read probably years ago, that there was a working mother, who was sitting at the table going through her calendar, and her little boy came up and asked, Mommy, what's that book you have? She goes, oh, this is the calendar where I write down all the important things I have to do today. And the boy looked and said, am I in that? And okay, I'll admit it. Hopefully my wife doesn't watch this episode, but she is not very often written down in my calendar unless there's some appointment that's come up. And she should be. I should put in there, even if I'm traveling, call her today, or take time to think about her today. Take that time, and hopefully we're doing more than 1%. But if you are so busy, take 1%. There's my challenge to you. Take 1% of your time, which is, okay, somebody will do math And put it in the comments for us. What's 1% of 24 hours? We'll see if Willie does that while I'm thinking.
It's
I've
about
been in my head since high school.
It's about 4-ish minutes.
4 minutes? Yeah, we can take 4 minutes to do something important. And I'm gonna, before I speak too long, Willie, you had a concept you shared with me a while ago, and I forget the exact number, but it was like a 2-minute goal or 2-minute accomplishment, where you get up in the morning and you have one simple thing to do, and you accomplish the goal right at the beginning of the day. Maybe it's along the lines of the make your bed speech and book.
Yeah, you're talking about 1 minute, one thing?
Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
But well, let me turn it to you, and can you tell me the 1 minute, one thing? Remind me. I should have been doing that before now.
Yeah, the 1 minute, one thing. It's something I've found that whenever I don't feel motivated to do something, especially, goodness, right now where we just moved and there's so many boxes around the house, just pick a single thing that you're going to do for 1 minute. And then afterwards, just be fine with not doing anything else. And I've done this countless times, and all but probably 1 or 2 of the times that I've done it, once I got up and started moving, then I wanted to do more. So one time I picked up the trash in the room just for 1 minute. And then after I did that, I'm like, okay, now I can, I guess, just grab the dirty clothes and throw them in the hamper. So I grabbed all of them, threw them in. And I'm like, okay, now I can do something bigger, right? And it goes back to one of Newton's laws where it's like an object that is in motion tends to stay in motion. When we are in motion and start moving, we are more likely to do the thing that we're wanting to do. So whenever I get into situations where I'm sitting there and don't want to do anything, I just think least degree of action I need to take, 1 minute, focus on one thing, and that's what it is.
Yeah, I tend to experience the other side of Newton's law, especially on a Saturday morning where a body at rest tends to remain at rest, where I just want to rest. But yeah, once you get that first little start, then we get excited about doing things. And if we take that first start of our time with what's truly most important to us, and if you're not sure what is, maybe we want to go back, or our viewers come back and review our videos on the Miracle Morning, talking about the things that we can start our day with that are the most important, whether it's going back to those personal meditation, or it's an exercise, or it's a personal study, a spiritual study, or interaction with a loved one or someone around us. If we put that first, that becomes the start to our day. That motivates us, hopefully, to do more and more of that. Now, I'm going to talk about another friend. I won't mention her name in case my wife in case whoever it is looks at this video later on. But she's a bit of a workaholic, and literally when she wakes up, the first thing she does is roll over and grab her phone and check her email. And the last thing she does before she goes to sleep is look at her email as she sets her phone off to the side of the bed. And she's a wonderful person, does great. She loves people around her, not saying anything there. But she's taking that first thing she does is look at the work. And I've tried to talk to her about that. I know we shouldn't solve problems for our spouses, and I'm learning about that. But I think when you're doing that, you're starting your day at work, and you're finishing your day at work. And then your whole day is at work, because that's the first thing and the last thing you did. Where if the first thing you do is stand up and look to the sky and say, I'm grateful for today. Now you've started the day being grateful, just for an example off the top of my head. If you're married or with a significant other and you roll over and the first thing you do in the morning is look at that person and say, I love you, you started your day differently. If the first thing you do is run down to your kid's bedroom and give them a hug, you started your day off differently. You've taken the time profit first before anything else. And then you'll find time for work. If we had 23 hours in a day, we still get things done. Actually, we do that every year, don't we? We have daylight savings time, and 1 year we have 1 hour less to do things. And the world has not fallen apart yet because of that. We get annoyed by it, but it hasn't fallen apart because of that. We make it work with 1 hour less every year that day. So let's take that 1% of time for the things that are most important. Put that first, and let's see what happens in our life.
It's funny you mention that. Most people, when they get on the flip side, when they get an extra hour, what do most people do with it? They sleep longer. It's like the complaining of I don't have that much time, but then when you're literally given 1 more hour, you use it to stay 1 more hour in bed. It's just so interesting.
That's the first thing I do every day is sleep.
You're right. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the one that's doing it. You're so right about time. There is this exercise years back when I was a teenager in Sunday school where the teacher brought a jar. Let me see there we go. There's my hands. My teacher brought a jar. Just one of those regular, I don't know the wording for it, jars, peach jars. My mom used to can peaches all the time.
Yeah, mason jars.
And mason jars. Yes, thank you. And so she brought this jar, and it was empty. Then she pulled out a bag, and it was a bag full of golf balls. She pulled out another bag, and it was a bag full of rice. And as she sat there, she said, okay, these represent, and she was pointing to the golf balls, these represent the big priorities that we have in our life. And these are the ones that are like the should and must get done. So this is the time with the spouse and time with the kids. This is making sure you actually go to work. This is things like eating well, exercising, saying your prayers if that's you, like the big things that you're supposed to be doing that actually rests, revitalizes, and recovers your body and your soul. And then she pointed to the rice and said, these are the smaller things that go on. These can be like video games. These can be that junk food of gummy bears that I totally don't have stashed away in my cupboard.
I don't have one either.
Yeah, I don't have high chews next to it either. Those are like the small things that so many of us prioritize. So what she did was she took that empty jar, took the rice, and said, we're going to pour all the small the small things to do in there. And the jar is our time, the amount of time that we have. So she poured all the rice in, all the small, mundane tasks that are there that we don't really need to get done. Pour that in, jar filled up to a little bit more than halfway. Then she grabbed the golf balls and started pouring the golf balls in, the ones that are the most important ones that we should get done. And they overflew, and all the golf balls were not able to get in there. And she said, so many times we find that when we put time towards the things that don't matter most, that we don't have the time for the things that actually do matter. And we're like, wow, that's so groundbreaking, because we're 12 and 13 years old.
Yeah.
Then she took out the golf balls and took out the rice. Then she put the golf balls in first, and the golf balls almost filled up the entire jar. And so us as kids will look at that and be like, yeah, if you focus on that, but then you can't like play video games, you can't eat junk food, like there's no way to fit that in. But then she got the rice and started pouring it into the jar. And as it went in there, it started to just fill up the gaps to where all the golf balls, and then at the end, all of the rice was able to fit into the jar with still some extra space. And she says, when we focus on the things that are most important and that need to get done, there will always be time for the other things. But if you do the other things first, the most important things don't always get done. And so through the whole thing, and as we're talking about time, put in your calendar the most important thing. Get in your time what actually is meaningful to you, that driven purpose, the things that fill up your cup, the relationships that you want to build. Whatever those are, put those in your jar of time. Put those in first. And then you can start filling in the others with the not so important stuff, but still enjoyable. Because you'll find that when you do it that way, that you won't just be able to do the most important tasks. You won't just be able to do the small stuff, but in the humdrum of all of it all, you'll still have extra time to be able to do other things that you didn't know that you had before. And that's simply just moving things around and prioritizing the most important things first. And crazy enough, that time that everyone asks for becomes more manageable and you get a little bit extra.
Yeah, I actually saw that demonstration once, but the person went one step further and he explained all of that, and then he took out a can of beer and he poured the beer in, and it still didn't overflow. And now this is in college, and somebody said, well, what's the beer for? He said, no matter how busy you are and how full your day is, there's always time to grab a beer with a friend.
There you go.
And not that we're advocating alcoholic drinks here, but we are adults, so it's up to you to choose what you want to do. But there's some truth there. There's, no matter how busy you get, there's always time for that. You know, a friend calls you with a problem or an issue, there's always time. A friend calls to say, hey, Willie, you are awesome. Just wanted to tell you that. Keep up the great work. You're an inspiration to me. Have a great day. And I hang up. Have I taken time out of your life to tell you that, Willie? If I call you and tell you that?
No.
No.
More enhances it than anything.
Yeah. And it does with that. So when we get the important things taken care of, then we get to do the other fun things. There's always a 1%, 4 minutes a day for a really important special thing that you can do to share with someone important, share with someone that's valuable to you. Call your mother, tell her you love her. Okay, I tried that. It takes more than 4 minutes before I can get off the phone with her. But it's really valuable time to be on the phone. And I'm going to go back to Stephen R. Covey again. And he gives a great example that people will say, I don't have time to do that. He said, how many hours are in the day? Well, 24, unless it's that leap year thing. How many hours are in the day for the President of the United States? How many hours are in the day for the homeless guy that's sitting on the sidewalk? 24 hours. Everyone has 24 hours. You can't say I don't have time. And the way Dr. Covey said is what you're really saying is I have something else that I would rather do than whatever you ask me to do. I have something more important to me than you, is really what it comes down to. And when you put it in that perspective, I'm too busy is a polite way of saying you're not important enough. So if we're saying I'm too busy to someone who is truly important to us, we're saying they're not really important to us. Which is, well, sad for me and makes me feel guilty because I've used that answer as well. I'll get around to that. I'm just too busy right now because whatever I think is important is more important than what you're telling me.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've used that unintentionally with my kids. When I might be texting someone on the phone, answering an email on a call like this, and the kids come in, just be like, Dad, look at this. And I'm like, just a minute, just a second. Dad's on a phone call right now. Dad's busy. Go talk to Mom. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. And now I'm sitting here reflecting on it, thinking, let's say you and I are obviously on recording this episode, and my kid walks in. It's easier for you to wait than it is for my kid because we've lived more time than a 2 or 4-year-old has. And so a minute to them seems like forever, when a minute to us is just like, oh, okay, that's fine. So if you and I are like sitting in the back room and my kid comes in, I could say, hey, Ian, can you give me a minute? And then look at my kid, and she shows me a cool drawing, and it's just like, awesome, that took 5 seconds, right? But then I'm prioritizing the thing that matters most to me. Not that you're not important, right?
Yeah.
That's not
your kids are more important than me. There's no question about that.
But it's just it's the who are we saying I'm busy to? And the follow-up question to that is, should they be the ones that we're telling that to?
Yeah, I've got an example of that. So years ago, my son was about 3 or 4, and we just moved to a new house. We had a bunch of family over at the house. We had a little cul-de-sac, and he wanted to ride his tricycle outside. We had a house full of family and people over there. Said, okay, well, we'll get to it in just a minute, okay? And like 15, 20 minutes later, I look around, I don't see my son. And I look outside the front door, and he's sitting on the curb with his tricycle beside him and his helmet on, sitting at the curb, waiting. And okay, it would have taken me 15 minutes to go out there with him and let him ride around, and he would have been bored of it. I can't tell you how many hours that has haunted me. Why didn't I just go outside and take that couple of minutes with him? You know, it doesn't matter that he doesn't remember it now. What matters is, well, it matters. I was going to say what matters is I remember it, and that's part of it. But how many of those things together added up in raising my kids? That's said, oh, just a minute, and it would have only taken a couple of minutes. No one would have missed me with the friends and family that were visiting there. They're all talking, but it was important to him. And what's important to the people you love needs to be important to us. It doesn't matter if riding a tricycle is not an important thing to me. Riding it for him. And as you still got young kids, that's my lesson to you right now, is don't do that and spend hours throughout my life looking back on that one moment and feeling such regret. Because it's not always the big things that are going to hit us with regret and worry and all that. With the people that are closest to us, it's the little things that make up the big. The little things are the big things. He doesn't remember Christmas presents. I don't remember the special Christmas presents I gave to him growing up, but I remember that. And that 1%, if I had put that 1% first and said, that's the important thing for my time right now, I'd have nothing to talk about in this webinar, this podcast, and we'd be all done. But that's not why I want to talk. That's not why I want to have things to talk about here as my own failures. But are we putting the profits of our life first? Are we putting the things that are truly important first? And we could even go into the whole thing. Are we blocking out time the same as we do in the profit first formula, to have, not the formula, the bank accounts with the taxes and the operating expenses? Are we blocking out our time that way? Are we saying, okay, I've got 1 hour of family time today. I've got 2 hours of running errands, which would be our operating expense. Are we taking that same thing in our life? Because we can block out time the same as we can block out money. There's no difference when you're making up a budget to budget your time or budget your money. You got a finite amount, and if you budget it well, you're going to hit the most important things. So let's take that time profit first. So.
You are spot on. And as we come to the close, that's probably a great thing to end on. And I'd add on to that is don't let the most important things in your life get the leftovers. Make sure they are there for the banquet of your time. Because when they're there for the banquet of your time, other things can go to the leftovers. But it's the most important people that should know that they're the most important people. And it doesn't take too much time to do that. Like Ian said, a simple message or a call to someone for 10 seconds might change their entire day and build a relationship with you for years and years to come. Do you have 10 seconds? Do you have 15 seconds to send a text, to call somebody, to be able to truly share with those that you love and care about that they actually matter? Ian, do you have a final thought with all this?
Yeah, just sometimes it takes a couple seconds. So last story for me today on this podcast, when I was a kid at church, there was a guy at our church that would always, when I walked by, say, "Hi, Ian, how are you doing?" and shake my hand. And not a lot of adults took time when I was a kid growing up to say that. He's long since passed away now, but it still sticks in my memory. And once in a while I'm online and I connect with one of his kids that I knew growing up, and it's always, your dad every time took time to look at me and smile and ask me how I was doing. And that made me feel so good growing up. And it took him 5 seconds, 10 seconds to do that. So maybe that 5 seconds, that 2 seconds, that 1 second might be enough to change somebody's life or to save your marriage because they realize that you're important, or to rekindle a friendship, or to bury a past wrong, any of those things. Put that 1% of your time first to start with. And I'll finish with that.
That is a great finish. And with that, champions, that wraps up this episode. If you've had inspiration in it, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, as well as you can go to our website, mychampionscircle.com, where you'll be able to find link to the podcast, link to our socials, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Until next time, champions, continue to be the best version of yourself. Be the champions in your life. And always remember, it only takes a few seconds to truly let other people know and yourself know what truly matters. We'll see you on the next episode of Champion Reads.